Welcome to Community Cuts, live from Brooklyn, New York, located at 732 Washington Avenue. Salon Leahing, professional barbers, professional beauticians. If you're looking to get a haircut or if you're looking to get a stylist, the secret's out. Come on over to Salon Leahing, 732 Washington Avenue. We got a great show for you tonight. Our hosts, Donna.
That is not my name. My name is Donnatella.
Donnatella. I was playing with your name a little bit.
He's playing with your name now.
And then we have Ricky
Yeah.
James in the house.
So Community Cuts audience, yes. Family.
So
I've had far too much sugar today. You know, I really don't care how people address me as long as when it's time for a check, they spell it right on the check. You know what I mean?
I remember that.
Or are we doing an ACH? So I want to open the show, being that we're in Brooklyn. I think it is very important for us to acknowledge Ray Dejon, who is a very important person within our community. I can't even begin to talk about the amount of things that he's contributed to, or the amount of people who are, saddened and astonished by his passing. And what's so ironic is just all of these great people within our community, in our history, from our childhood, that have passed within the last week or two. And I'm gonna add my auntie Tony Baby. She was funeralized last Saturday.
Yeah.
And
my condolences.
Thank you.
All the love in the world.
And Ray Dejon passed, I believe, on July 14th, the day before his birthday, where there was a huge comedy show that was going to be at 275 Park. And tomorrow is his homegoing, which is going to be in downtown Brooklyn. And I believe it's 1 to 2:30 p.m. So I anticipate that there will be a lot of beautiful Black, brown, and otherwise kind of people there to show, to show their respect.
Can you name
the family?
The location?
Yes, and right now it escapes me. So I'm going to go into my phone because this is a live presentation. I think it's Emmanuel Baptist Church. I think
it's right across the street from where I live.
Well, if you knew it, why didn't you just say it,
I'm
Ricky?
making sure.
You guys, Ricky, I am adopting as my big little brother. I'm not going to say if I'm older than Ricky or not. And today I introduced Ricky to the concept that he's a silver fox.
Sure.
He doesn't want to accept that. He doesn't realize if you look at hashtag silver fox on any social media platform, start with Instagram.
You ever heard of the Grey Panthers?
The Grey Panthers. Who are they?
A women's group that are, what do they call those?
Cougars?
Cougars, yeah.
Are you serious?
Cougars of New York.
Cougars of New York.
The Grey Panthers. They'll get you one way or another, they would say.
Oh, I need to join that group.
And they just mellowed out and mellowed down. So
how do you know? Were you
you watch them on TV, you watch them on the streets.
Oh, I think the title Cougar is a little unfair in 2025 because I have a lot of I had a video on Snapchat get 1.3 million views, and they invited me to be a creator. It's one of those platforms where you can't just create a profile and say who you are. So I get a lot of very young guys sending me messages asking me either they want to be a sugar baby. You know what a sugar baby is, right?
Nope, I don't want to know. I mean, sugar babies, I've heard that before.
Well, the thing you would want to say that you don't know about is you don't know anything about being a sugar daddy. That's what you want to say. A sugar daddy would be a gentleman like yourself, right? Or someone who identifies as a gentleman like yourself, contributing to the well-being and livelihood of a much younger person. Doesn't always mean that it is a sexual thing, right? It just means that that person, not you, because we don't want somebody to snip and cut this video, but that person is willing to pay for the other person's attention. As a matter of fact, that brings me to right now, there is an 82-year-old multi-billionaire who is getting divorced from his 32-year-old husband that he married during the pandemic. And
husband?
Yeah, husband. And they met on this website that was called I'm not gonna get it exactly correct, but it's basically a website where you go to look for arrangements. It's not like sugarbabies.com or whatever. And right now, everybody is teasing the 30-something-year-old, this supermodel, very attractive young man, saying that because they're in the state of California, he had one job, and that job was to secure the bag, and that they've only been married for 2 years, right? But in the state of California, if you're married for 10 years, you automatically get a lot of money. And I think this billionaire, multi-billionaire, I forgot how much money they said he's worth, but now they're getting a divorce, and there was no prenup, right? So now this 30-something-year-old is getting some money, but not the money everybody says that he would have been getting if he just stayed there for 10 years. And then the sad side was they're like, hey, 82, another 10 years, he'd been 90-something. All you have to do is kind of just stand there and say, hey, and look nice.
The passing of Chuck Mangion, it just hit me as if I didn't recognize when you first mentioned it to me.
Oh, there was another good-looking guy in here who's off camera. He mentioned Chuck Mangion. I can't remember who is Chuck Mangion.
He made the song "Living," and he made the song I forget now. It just passed by me. But he was really a great artist. He had a good foxhorn.
I know the name.
You ever heard of the foxhorn?
The foxhorn, is it a instrument?
Instrument, yeah.
Okay, I have to be careful what I say while I'm wearing the people's blonde hair. I don't want anybody making fun of me, but I don't know the answer. Right? No, but I played the clarinet.
Clarinet. And Chuck Mangion was always down at the Blue Note in Manhattan on West 4th Street.
The Blue Note.
And he was a great draw for the village. Everybody would come out and see Chuck Mangion. They didn't play with his lifestyle. He wore that hat, the black hat he always wore, and he was always in a smiling situation. He did not have a frown. He was Latino, which was even more of a burden for the public, because most public in the village do not look at Latinos very much, but they do have the access through their instrumentation, playing in venues like the Blue Note.
And we're talking about when you say didn't look or don't have whatever, originally back in the day, because now
70s and 60s, 70s.
Right. I just want to add that in because, the internet, you're speaking from a perspective and providing some history, and people who are just listening might become confused and think you mean now. And then Malcolm-Jamal Warner, who passed, tragically, although also heroically, from what I understand, right? The real sad part, besides the fact 54, man of color,
so young,
recently lost his life. Did any of you see the last video that he streamed on his social media?
Where he's placing in pulling off his clothes and in a different event and pulling off his clothes.
Well, I think there's that one, but there's the one specifically that I'm thinking of. He's driving in the car and he's talking about his daughter, and he's showing this yellow rose yellow flower that his daughter gave him, and he puts it behind his ear. But if you watch the video, or the version that I saw, to the very, very end, the last thing he says is, "I'll be back soon." Right? And so for me, it speaks very loudly of just how appreciative we have to be of life and the people around us, the energy that we give out, what we say to people, because you never know when you might not be here and those words that you share, especially with the internet, how they're going to echo.
Mhm.
But one thing I do want to acknowledge that you don't hear a lot of people talking about. So apparently there was a riptide and he was fighting to save his daughter, which he did. But there's another individual who was fighting to help him. And that person is still in critical, unless the last time I heard, that person's still in critical condition. And I think lots of times when you have celebrities that pass, when they're involved with people who are not so famous, or a celebrity who passed on the same day as someone else who's not so famous passed, you don't hear people acknowledging that person's contribution. And for me, I would think that has to be really hard for that family as well. So
Yeah.
I haven't seen that person's name released, probably because of privacy and things. So I just want to say we here
He is
at
a hero.
Community
He is
Cuts,
a hero. You are right. You are right.
are praying for everyone who's connected to Malcolm-Jamal Warner and all the other people who have passed, like Ray Dejon, Chuck Mangion, and
Hulk Hogan.
There's Hulk Hogan as well.
What I would like to, excuse me, Donnatella, what I would like to say about Hulk Hogan, he was a personable individual. I did meet his opponent for that particular month, Mr. Hillbilly Jim. That he was 6'5" and 350 pounds.
Wow.
He came to me and stood in front of me. I was 6 foot, 200 and some odd pounds, and he held out his hand to shake my hand. I said, "What could be the harm in that, shaking your hand, Hillbilly Jim?" And I did shake his hand, and he squeezed. He
And it hurt.
No, it didn't hurt. And I squeezed his hand, and he looked, and it looked as if, when you gonna let it go?
Yeah.
And we just had a standoff there. And I did say, is Hulk Hogan's hand squeezed as powerful as mine?
That's a real man thing.
And he said, yes, it is. And we went our separate ways. But this was on my job at the time, and we were promoting all kinds of people that were making videos with our company.
Mm-hmm.
So he was he wore the coveralls with the straps and the big
That's
straw.
Hillbilly Jim.
Hillbilly all the way. So that was nice to see.
Well, the one thing that saddens me about social media, or about people in general, some people look at the most recent thing that you've done in life and summarize your life to be that, right? And it's amazing to me how many, I call them thumb gangsters, like finger gangsters, the people who are online who say all kinds of things in comments or on their posts that they would never have the backbone to say if they saw you in person. And so, and then there are the people who just want to create viral content, right? So in listening to the things that people were saying about Hulk Hogan passing, I was surprised at the amount of people who were saying, oh, they don't care because of the, I want to say the racist things that he said in his later years, especially after learning that his daughter was dating someone of color. And there's all these posts about him using the N-word and the hard R and all these things. And
well, if you belong, and that's a big word, belong. You have no real trouble about saying the things that are negative or positive about anybody.
well,
that is already who belongs.
But it's disrespectful to speak ill.
Disrespect
of the dead.
is for children to learn. You have to learn how to be respectful as a child. Once you learn that your disrespectfulness is just a step in a bucket, and that's not, it's empty. So I don't think that's a big thing.
Of course it is, because even if you are in church, or that's like
as a child, you learn how to go to church.
but you don't think
can't
it's
fault.
disrespectful
No,
to speak illy of the dead.
No, that's you have to have that respect already, and you have to belong.
Well,
I didn't know
I just
that.
want to say something about that. So
We
you know,
we have. Can he have your mic?
Yeah, I got it right here.
Okay.
So, I grew up on Hulk Hogan, you know what I mean? And you know, the way I look at things in this situation is people are gonna have their views, right? In general. Hulk Hogan was iconic, growing up. He paved ways for different people. He has done things that were good, supposedly, but then he's also done things that were bad.
Right.
Is it bad to speak ill will about people that are passed away? I would have to say goes both ways, because I mean, would you speak good about Hitler? He passed away. And would you go to his funeral and be like, yo, this guy was a great leader? He was a great leader, but he was also fucked up. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's like depending on how you look at that situation, Hulk Hogan has said things, but that doesn't mean that necessarily he was, racist. Because if he was, then he wouldn't allow his daughter to be with that dude. Now, whatever happened between
he didn't. That was the whole thing.
Well,
supposedly, but I don't know.
Well, supposedly what happened was something happened between the man and the daughter or whatever. It's just kind of the same thing what happened with Method Man and his daughter, where she had she was dating another guy, and they ended up meeting up in the gym, and Method Man fought him, and it was on the news everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And they kind of
was it a racial inspired?
No. It's not even about racial, nothing like that. Because sometimes you have to take out racial, and you just have to put
the action that actually happened.
Right, the exact situation that happened. So who knows? The man could have played her, or she could have been heartbroken. We don't know how that went. And he could have said what he said. I mean, Mel Gibson has done that too.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I love Mel Gibson.
Right, but he's also made movies like Apocalypto and other stuff that talks about fighting for freedom and stuff like. So it's kind of like, are they angry at the moment, or have they always been like this every day? So it's it's a little touch and go on that. I mean, the dude was around Danny Glover like a lot. Danny Glover never spoke ill will about this dude.
And
so
that's my point. I think like you said, it's human to be able to say the pros and cons. For me personally, what I don't like are the people who overall want to take away any value. Because I know if you go and find me when I was a child or a young adult, I've said some pretty wild things out of my mouth at different times, but you learn. But then when you get older, sometimes things happen. And I think because of, I want to say the climate, a lot of people, I was born in Alabama, right? So I was called the N-word at a very young age. I find that people are becoming more comfortable with either telling their truth or with saying whatever is popular. And so I feel like a lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon, just on my social media, for the viral sensation of talking about Hulk Hogan in a negative way.
And also what you said about it was called the N-word. Also, like up here, it's different compared to Alabama. Like when a person is saying, listen, nigger, over here, they're like, yo, my nigga, what up? It's a whole different weird situation in that. And I'm not, and it's weird.
That's like what I said about belonging.
Right.
Belonging.
Right.
You have to belong.
And Hulk Hogan grew up in South Tampa.
But that's two different words, though.
No, I wouldn't say two different words. I would say two different worlds.
No.
I wouldn't say two different words.
No. So
it's the same thing, but it's just a different.
My problem is what we hear people say when they say there's Nigger, which no matter where you say it in the North or the South means the same thing.
Right.
And then there's Nigga, which is what
never ignorant getting goals accomplished. A lot of people don't know that. And the one who actually said that was Tupac, and nobody cared about that.
Well, and I get exactly what you're saying,
right.
and that's the whole thing, right? It's so I'll give you another reference, right? Outside of our community, there is a reference that I hear people saying all the time that they don't realize is a slur, right? So in Brooklyn, I see a lot of people of color, when they want to refer to someone who's Jewish, they say that Jew or something like that, right? And if you are, oh, I hear they don't say that Jew, but they might say
You say Jewish. I'm from Brooklyn.
Yeah, I mean, you
Right.
go to.
Well, so hold on, let me finish.
I don't consider them Jews, but no.
Right. So that is my point, right?
Yeah.
And it's all about education. So I was on the elevator yesterday, and I heard a man say to a woman, "Oh, I was standing beside a Jew," and so I said to him, I said, "Hey, I'm going to take a moment. I don't want you to be offended, but I'm going to give you a little bit of education that I learned, right? If you are not of Jewish descent, you cannot refer to a person as a Jew, right? You can say they are Jewish. A person who is Jewish can actually refer to another person who is Jewish as a Jew without it being a slur, right? And so for us as a community, a lot of people don't realize that. And so maybe 10 people in the elevator. And when the elevator opened, an Orthodox Jewish person got on the elevator, right?
Talking about belonging.
But hold on, let me finish.
Yeah, come on,
And
Donnatella. Reach a point.
So the gentleman said to me, he said, why is that offensive? And I had to use the whole analogy that we just talked about with NIGGA and NIGGER. And then the amount of people that were on the elevator who turned to me and they said, I had no idea that was a thing. And sometimes it's just education.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a Jew. There's a Jew that I know.
I just said you can't say that word.
Jewish man.
Yeah, so Jewish.
Jewish.
There you go. There's a Jewish man that you know.
I refer to another Jew.
Another
a rabbi.
Jewish man.
A rabbi.
If we're gonna go that high, then we might as well not use the word black either.
Yep.
Because the word
right.
black it wouldn't even come from us. It was a European word
right.
that was sent to us in Africa.
That's true. So, but here is the caveat. Technically, when you look, whether it's right or wrong, when you get a application or a census or whatever, and there's a place whether it's wrong or not, it is currently, until it's changed, politically correct, because it is an option on your census, on your application for a job. It'll say Black African American, right? You know, we've transcended from colored to Black African American. Now, when you look on applications, you can now say mixed, and you can choose if you are Asian and Black, or if you are.
Here's the problem with that situation. Sorry, I'm going to cut him off.
That's okay.
Here's the problem with that situation.
I'm listening.
You ever seen the movie Get Out? Everybody probably seen that movie, right? So
Get Out.
So the word black has been embedded in our heads, knowing that we are dark in different shades of dark. Mm-hmm. If you ask any African 60 and up, and you ask them, hey, you ever called yourselves black in Africa? They'll tell you no, right? They said no, because all they saw was dark people of different shades. So the problem is, when we got labeled that, you know what I mean? With that label came the same slur. Black.
Black nigga, this, blah, blah, blah. I agree.
Negro, which came from Spain, it's the whole, the whole thing is if you ask a young kid or a kid my age, a person my age, I'm not a kid. Ask a person my age, you know what I'm saying? Yo, where you from? And if they don't know, the first thing they say is, I don't know, I'm black. Like, what? It throws a whole like, yo, okay, so you're from Black, like where's that? You know what I'm saying? Culture and color, they can't distinguish the two, and it's really, really scary. And the reason for that is because of, like you said, census. But the census comes from who? White people.
No, I get that, the ideology behind it, but for me, right? So. Being born in Birmingham, but my mother saw better opportunities for us up north. So we moved by the 6th grade. I grew up in Columbia, Maryland, right? And it's a planned town. It's literally like a little utopia. So you have a lot of interracial dating and things like that. And a lot of people that I grew up with, you leave outside of Columbia, Maryland, or you travel to Baltimore and you realize, oh, it's not so cutesy with the way the real world is, right? But when you come in and you look, let's say what's happening here, when I came to New York and being in Brooklyn, as diverse as this place is, it is still very heavily segregated, right? In terms of community, which is amazing to me. And then you have the separations within people of color in terms of the various Caribbeans, right? And I think one of the biggest problems, and this is going over to something different that's kind of near and dear to me, The problem that we're having right now with this administration and its attack or focus on illegal immigrants or people from Venezuela and the Spanish descent is that I think a lot of Black and brown people don't understand that we all have the same battle with the immigrants that are of Spanish descent, and they're not going to see it until they start seeing people who look like them.
Here's the
being
problem
attacked.
too. When you just told
We're
him,
getting
you
off
shouldn't-
the subject. We were talking about Hulk Hogan dating a black woman.
It's fine.
But hold
It's
on.
live. It's
Yeah,
live
yeah,
TV,
but
and we can do that.
Here's the thing. When
We're just
you
going
told
on
him
and
not
on
to
about
say
something
Jew,
else.
for you to say black and brown, like it's kind of like we're saying the same person twice. You know what I mean?
But,
And that's-
but you're
and
not.
that's something makes no sense.
But it does, because
How?
there are lots of people who are brown who don't consider themselves Black. So Spanish people don't consider themselves Black. And you were talking about
that depends on what Spanish people you're talking to.
No,
Because my parents
right.
from Costa Rica.
well,
don't say
yeah.
brown.
So are you aware of the issues overall between Dominicans and Haitians and how close
I'm
the
well
country
aware
is?
of all that. Yeah.
Right. So again, what you're talking about in terms of opinions with Black and brown, right? There is a thing that's Black and brown, because brown doesn't just mean a lighter person like the young man that's next to you who happens to be brown. It is anybody who's brown who's not white, right? So when you think about, and I'm just going to use a topic, minority certification, that's for minorities. The average person who listens to that, they immediately think Black and brown, and no, it's really anything other than a white male. So it's Black and brown or woman. And when it comes to woman, it's not just Black women. Hold on. And the biggest receiver of minority certified funding is white women.
See, the way you're speaking it, you know what I mean, is what the city entails. I'm speaking it.
That's nationwide.
No. I'm speaking it as far as like when I look at it, dark, different shades, period, right? If a person says they're brown because they don't want to be Black or they don't want to be white, it really doesn't matter. You're still dark just like me. You know what I mean? So my whole thing, especially Indians, Lord have mercy, it's ridiculous. I work for NYU and a girl literally standing in front of me and darker than me goes and says, hey, we had a conversation. She's from Texas. And she says that, I get a lot of weird looks in Texas, but I'm not like you guys. And I'm like, and the first thing that popped in my head was, you need an education lesson, because what are you talking about? You're darker than me with straight hair.
So
it's the whole
there's
education system.
There's a difference between colorism, right? So remember, there's racism, there's colorism. That's the struggle we have within our own people with shades.
Right.
And so when you get to talking about people who are Asian, right? So I went to the Philippines, right? My parents, after 9/11, became expats. And in order to make the money they make here, you travel outside the country. When we went to the Philippines, I was very surprised to see that the billboards and models there, all very white-skinned Philippines, right? Filipinos. And all the products that we have normally here in the States that we use have bleaching creams in them already. And so when I had a conversation, and my parents make sure whenever we go anywhere, you get educated, right? And they explain when you go back to when there was fighting and soldiers and the white soldiers who then had sex with the locals.
Spanish people, yeah.
Well, the local people, and the product were these white complected people. Colorism, I don't care where you go in the world, is always the same thing. And that is something inherently that has been taught for generations and generations, that the lighter your skin, the whiter your skin, the more higher you up in society, right? And so when you're speaking about Indians, I remember when I first came to New York, I was dating a gentleman who was an Indian Jamaican, so very dark skin, straight kind of hair. And he said to me, he's like, oh, Donnatella, I love you, but my mother would never want me to marry a Black American, right? And he was telling me this before he took me home to his house for like some holiday thing. And he said, and I'm going to tell you that my parents are going to look at you kind of funny. They're going to think you're very smart, very pretty. And what they're going to look at is that you're not Indian and your hair is not like our hair, right? And it's also the difference between, I knew a Jamaican who had curly hair in Jamaica, and you could call them coolie and they wouldn't care. but a person who was from Trinidad, you call them coolie, it's considered degrading.
Yes. So, I mean, again, and back to Hogan, it all boils down
Belonging,
to
yeah.
belonging and education. You know what I mean? The problem is that, like you said, the Philippines.
Are they being educated about this?
A lot of people, what they don't know is that, in the Philippines, the originals of the Philippines live in the mountains.
Right.
Because they were castrated out the city.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't necessarily the fault of the Filipinos that they're with, but it was because of Japan, Spain, when they did what they did, and they basically, the same thing as I was saying before about the whole census and the whole, one is black and one is brown.
Separation.
Right.
Yeah. No, this is great dialogue. I love that. Thank you. And that's the wonderful thing
He's always
about
got
being
something
here.
good to say. It's
Yeah.
it's not degrading. It's not. It's about the youth. It's not about us. I mean, it's really good to hear.
And that's the wonderful thing about being live in Salon Leahing. You have great people here and who are not afraid to share their voice. Although both he and I almost got it from Ricky because we didn't want to stay on the topic, and we went
What
to
did
something
Ricky
else.
do? What he said? What did Ricky do?
No, but it's the good thing. You need some help back there. Oh, Fanny. Oh yeah, because sitting underneath. Hey, Raymond. Excuse me. Okay, Raymond. Your gentleman was asking because he's looking for a fan. Okay, all right. See, that's the live and exciting thing about being in Leon. Where are we again? Salon Leahing, right?
Yeah.
I'm all excited. And so my fancy friend Duke, my favorite water is the Mountain Valley water. They did not pay for this, so this is not a plug for them. But Duke is so fancy. He got me sparkling water. I do not like sparkling water. I like flat, which is nice. And this is also flavored water. I remember when my grandma...
Don't drop it, whatever you do.
No, I won't. My grandmother was... she passed at 91. But this is my grandmother on my dad's side. Toward the end of her years, her doctor was talking to her about being hydrated. And I think my grandmother was 89 at the time. And her doctor was a really young person when she went in. And he was telling my grandmother she needs to drink a lot of water. She doesn't drink a lot of water. And so we tried water with flavor and all this other stuff to send to her so she would drink more water. But she had a conversation with the doctor. And she said to the doctor, she said, I'm 89. How much longer do you want me to live? Why do I have to drink so much water? I don't like water, which I thought was really, really funny. Yes, Ricky.
A plug. Let me give a plug for the Japanese. The Society of Japanese is having a celebration or remembrance of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the baby boy and big boy, the bombs that were dropped. It's going to be at the Society in Manhattan, the Japanese Society.
When is that?
It's Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Oh.
9 o'clock in the morning.
I might go to that. So, fun fact: when I went to Drexel, one of my minor was supposed to be international area studies, and I was studying Japanese. And I had a Japanese roommate. She didn't speak any English at all when we started our freshman year. Her name was Shoko, and Shoko came to New York maybe like in the middle of the year. She was gone for a month. When she came back, she was speaking English. I was like, how did you go away and learn English that fast? And she said, oh, I went to New York and I fell in love and now I'm leaving school. And I dropped out of Japanese, which the classes were only 2 or 3 people in it. The best opportunity. Yeah. I'm so mad at myself. And in 2012, I went to work in Japan, and all I could think of, one, I should have gotten Rosetta Stone. Remember, Rosetta Stone's like a big thing that corporate America was using. You could quickly learn languages. But I have always loved Japanese food and the culture. Plus, I grew up, it's not actually Japanese, but I grew up in the time. Do you remember watching on Sundays watching the karate movies that used to come on TV.
Sure.
And then when the karate movie, I don't know what you all did as a kid, but as soon as the movie finished, everybody jumped up and you start attacking your siblings, or you run outside.
We never did that. We saw the Japanese movies, and then we looked at each other. We just looked at each other because I know if they're jumping up and jumping while the friends of our family, we're gonna kick their butt and kick them out the house. That's what
that was a fun thing for us. You could go outside and play.
No, you got to get out. It's what they used to call it, touchy feely. Everyone has a touchy feely idea when they see something on TV. A touchy feely.
Oh, okay. Well,
don't touch me with your stupidness. That's with Japanese.
Okay.
I can understand that.
That's not what happened where I grew up. We would do the little karate stuff. You'd run outside and you'd play for a while until the lights came on. And my mom would come outside, and if she had to come outside and call your name for you to come home, it's a wrap. It was you and a switch. I had maybe 3 or 4 instances that I can remember. I had once my mom made me go out and pick my own switch. That's the brutal stuff. You get in trouble, you got to go out and pick your own switch.
She said, you're such an individual, you might as well do something individually. Go out and get a switch.
And I learned very quickly, you think you get the skinny switch is not going to hurt because it's not a big branch. Oh my goodness. I can't remember more than twice getting a spanking with a switch and having the little webs on my legs and screaming like my mom was murdering. I mean, these kids today, you yell at them hard, they want to call CPS or whatever it is. I grew up, you call somebody on your mom, they're going to get murdered before they get there.
So Donnatella, we have Ralph Carter from Good Times coming on the show. You had a conversation with him?
Yes, I did. I got to meet him over the phone. And you know what was really interesting that I'm finding in New York? First of all, for those of you who are listening, the name Ralph Carter may not strike a bell. You may not know who that is, but if we say the name of the show, which is Good Times, right? And then we say Michael, who played on the show, it was very interesting to me to hear Ralph Carter speak. And in my head, I kind of closed my eyes and I was like, wow, this adult senior male who's had so much experience speaks exactly like the character that was on Good Times. Very pro-Black, very, proud. And in my head, no idea. I had to Google him to see what he looks like now, because my only vision of him is light skin with that little afro, being very young. I don't remember any episodes where he ever grew older on Good Times. Did he?
Yeah.
I don't remember him being older on there. I guess he always looked the same to me. No matter.
I met him in person on a party line. We was going into a party. Me and my young lady, we were online, and he came out of the crowd across the street. Mm-hmm. Ralph Carter and Hal, the radio DJ Hal, or something, I forget his name. He came over to me and said, "Could we sneak in front of the line and stand in front of you and get in?" I said, "Ralph Carter, as young as you are, you should always get first privilege." And so I let him go ahead.
Oh, you're a very interesting person, Ricky.
Yeah,
I'd have been like, "No, I'm going to go in with you, Mr. Celebrity. I want VIP as well."
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward. He said he was actually going to come on the show, and then he shared that he bakes and things like that very well.
That's a good idea.
I also liked how eager and how proudly he shared memories with his mom, right? And the importance of his mom teaching him how to cook. And that reminded me of my childhood. My mother, I grew up in a single parent home. My family is blended now, right? Both my parents are remarried. But at a very young age, my mother taught my brother and I how to do everything that we need to do for ourselves. And I remember hearing my mom tell my brother, you need to learn how to cook so you don't ever have to depend on a woman to cook for you. And then, with myself, you need to learn how to do all these things to keep yourself safe because I'm the older one, so you don't have to depend on a man. And sometimes I think she made us a little too independent, as I have not been able to be docile enough to get married, right? And it's very interesting the things that you learn as a child, depending on who you are, that stays with you. But so it'll be nice to have him on the show whenever he's going to be here.
Yeah. After he's on the show down south, and he's in the play.
Oh yes, the about reparations.
Exactly.
He was explaining that, which New York right now is having meetings about reparations. I don't know if you all know. You should Google and make sure you're on those Zooms. They are trying to, and it's kind of changed a little bit with this administration because they're trying to keep us from getting everything. But there was a question: who actually is entitled to reparations? Do you have to be a person of color who's a descendant from a slave, or do you just have to be a person of color?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, because not everyone apparently.
I hear shouting from both sides. People of color, people of the ancestry. So I wonder who's going to win that battle.
Well, I think what I've been hearing when I attend the webinars is that there is an overwhelming thought or idea that every person of color is entitled to some type of reparation. Will it happen in my lifetime? I have no idea. Is it something I'm banking on? Absolutely not. You know, sometimes you hear about things like right now, Apple has a $95 million settlement. If you have an Apple device, you can apply for a $20 credit up to 5 devices, right? So I know I'm entitled to that, right? And if I fill out that paperwork, I'll get that money probably by the end of the year, right? What am I going to do with $100? I'm going to come to Salon Leahing and get a service, right? That $100 is here and it's gone. But when it comes to reparations, I think now as this administration tries to erase our history, remove our books, it's kind of, you know, how can you pay out something if half the people are trying to erase all its existence? And in my head, I'm saying, okay, this guy is not going to be president forever. Is the first Democratic president who comes back going to then put back up the museum, put these books back into place? Have they been burned? What's happening to all the banned books? It's really a kind of scary thing. And right now, I recently downloaded the list of, you know, our famous Black authored books that have been removed and that are banned, because I think we need to actively try to purchase a copy or download a copy for your own records. And I think that's, you know, kind of scary. I just wish there was a way I could come back in like 50 or 60 years and see what's happening. You know, 50 or 60 years from whatever it is I leave this place. I mean, wouldn't you want to know what's happening? Would you?
50 or 60 years from now? Yeah, I certainly would. I'd like to know what they're going to do with Mars, what they're going to put on Mars. And
but they're going to put us on Mars if you listen to Elon.
He would. He's building those shelters that you can build by those roving robots.
Have you seen the robot in Manhattan?
Yeah, I've seen it.
I think every time I see it, I think of Will Smith's movie, I, Legend. iRobot and I, Legend, right? Or the iRobot and Legend. That was the other one, right? I'm not excited about having, I'm a real sci-fi person.
I mean, you see the people today and the young people and how they act and how they think. You see them on Mars, they would just love to be by themselves so much that they can survive on Mars.
That's all kids. Remember when you were young and you thought about being old was like...
I wouldn't want to go outside my house if I knew what was going on in the streets. That's what we played in the house. We never went outside. So really not a big caveat going outside.
Well, maybe because you grew up in New York City, but even as a kid, well, when I think about it, in Birmingham, I probably did not play outside either. But I was talking to my parents and, you know, my dad was asking me, oh, do you remember when your your childhood friend Rolanda used to come knock on the door and ask if you could come out and play. And I'm like, no, Dad, I don't remember that. But if you say it happened, I'm sure it did.
Right?
I remember when I was in maybe the 2nd grade, we lived in a private house with a gate, and behind us was another house with a gate, and they had Doberman pinchers.
Yeah,
and that back in that day, everybody had like German Shepherd, Doberman pinchers.
Both.
They didn't have, I don't know where all these little cutesy dogs came from. They didn't exist when I was a kid.
Spoiled brats.
Yeah, but Dobermans were like the scariest dogs to me. There was an urban legend. My mom, in order to keep us, and I shouldn't say my mom because she's going to watch this and say, I didn't say that. But as a kid, I remember you were told not to go to agitate the dogs because we used to throw rocks at the dog and then run back into our yard through the fence. And the Dobermans were really smart. And the last time we did that, we were throwing rocks, and it waited until we got up close to the fence, and it came from under the fence and chased us. And we never messed with that dog again.
He waited.
Yeah, he waited until we got close enough.
Some dogs are very, very smart.
Yeah, Dobermans are
very, very smart.
I saw a Doberman in Brooklyn a week ago. And I'm like, where do people have these dogs in these little bitty apartments?
Yeah.
There's some really huge dogs.
They go to the bathroom a lot, a Doberman pinscher. That's what I
Dobermans?
remember.
I don't know. If I had a puppy, a dog, I want one of those cute little things you can put in like a purse or something. A small dog.
Well, guys, I want to say thank you for tonight. We have
what's the gentleman's name who was talking to us, Raymond? Rue? I want to thank Rue for interjecting some energy. I thought we were going to have another guest.
When he's here, he's always interjecting. He's always got something energetic.
I've seen him here before and he didn't speak, but today the spirit hit him and he joined in. And we're supposed to have another guest speaker. So young lady that didn't make it here, we'll be looking for you next Friday. See how God works? Yep. And next week, we're going to get into more of Ricky's silver fox ways.
Get out of here.
As we close
the Great Panthers. Get ready. We'll go into Great Panthers.
Yeah.
I'll bring a dossier about the Great Panthers.
Really? I'm going to Google and look it up. I like young guys. You older guys are too clever for me. I need, someone with less experience.
Great fox.
All right.
Well, guys, we're going to say thank you for coming here tonight. Well, you guys are the hosts, so.
Oh, we should say thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining in with us, Duke. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you to everyone here in the salon. And we'll be back next week when we talk about Ricky's dating that he did on his trip down south.
I would like to thank the Community Cuts family. I hope there's a few people watching that can chime in and contact Duke and ask us questions. Donnatella, myself, and Rue. If you have questions for Brother Rue, I would appreciate the contact. Feel free. Good night.
Good night. It's early enough. We can go have. You tell me about.
I gotta go to
your karaoke.
Karaoke, my brother.
Is that who's calling you all the time? Why are you sending your brother a voicemail? You couldn't be my brother.